is is my pose inappropriate, or should I?
You
Get
should
over it.
definitely
Zach
look like a
massage.
regular
Yeah, you're
person.
definitely pulling the Zach massage.
No,
Okay.
put them down, bro. All right. I'll cut this all out. Don't worry, man.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I think Kika's variant is 100%
Start.
the best.
No. Give it a second. Then start. Hey, how's it going, guys? RudyWadeTCG back at it again with another video, and today I'm joined with 3 guests here to talk about the Madison Regional Championships meta. So we're gonna do the order Alec, Finn, then Noah to talk about how the format's gonna be. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
What's up, guys? My name is Alec Geissler. I'm playing competitively. This is my first year. I've been here for a while, so you guys know who I am. But I have 414 CP now. Hopefully to secure my invite, hopefully at Madison, but definitely going to go to Madison, Origins, and NAIC. So hopefully to see you in DC.
Hey guys, my name is Finn. I played Meganium at a cup today, and you should check out cuttertab.com.
My name is Noah Bujak. I am at 469 CP, and I have no more majors left. Can't make it to Madison or Nyack, so we're praying on cups.
All right, sounds good. So for the first deck to talk about for Madison, it recently just won 2 regional championships. Reshizard, probably the most popular deck right now, and the one that's got the biggest target on its back. So, do you feel like this deck has it's strong enough to even beat the counters? Because I know going into the last Santa Clara and Sao Paulo, the deck was like tried to have been countered, but it was unsuccessful. So do you think that's gonna be a repeat thing that's gonna happen this weekend, or do you think it's going to get hard countered?
So overall, I just think Reshizard isn't as good as it is anymore. I think it's definitely a good deck. Don't get me wrong. I think the deck is solid. It'll definitely get you points if you decide to play it and you play it well. I don't think I would ever play it just because I don't like the feeling of the deck. It just seems really, really slow to me. Whereas I think like of this huge Pokemon where you're just like flying through your deck through every turn, like with Welder and all that stuff. I personally don't like it. I don't think it can get like heavily hard countered, but it can definitely be like countered for. And I don't know if it can like always beat the counters, but it definitely like struggles with a couple of the counters. Like if you have a fully loaded Zard and Slow King and stuff like that. So yeah.
I think there are definitely counters out there. I think people go about it wrong a lot of the time, and they, like for example in Zoroark decks, they're totally building it wrong. They're thinking that like 2/2 Slow King and 1/1 Dugong is how you do it, but there's a bunch of other stuff you need. So I think there's definitely counters to Reshizard in general with a lot of decks. It's just a lot of players don't understand how to do that the right way.
So you think it's still going to be equally as strong as it was for Santa Clara?
Yeah, I think it's still going to be really strong. Because of that. It's still a really good pick. I mean, the greens version I think is the best version, but that deck needs more consistency. Like the way that Keon won was just being on the better side of variance and playing really well. But like a lot of other people played that list and didn't do well at all.
Yep, for sure. Noah?
So my thoughts on it are, I think like in the opening weekend, like people knew Reshizard was going to be big, but a lot of the other decks people weren't too sure on. So like they knew Reshizard would be at the top, but people weren't totally certain on what else they would have to see and what else they would have to account for. So a lot of people went in with like weirder decks. But now that like there's been a weekend of a couple majors, people know what else to expect. So then it's gonna be a more solidified metagame, and people will be like more certain on what they can play. So like for example, I have been like testing Malamar, for example. And I think Malamar has a good matchup against it. I don't know what else it might have other decks it struggles with. But I know it beats Reshizard. So there's gonna be other decks like that that people are gonna think of and bring now that they know that Reshizard is a big contender to take down.
Yeah, and I also have one more thing to add in that the counters for Reshiram, like similarly to the Toronto metagame where we saw more fighting decks in the entire event than there were Pikarom, that was because the fighting decks were viable in almost every matchup, whereas the Reshiram counters might not be as viable in other matchups and might not be as strong of decks all around. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. So for the next deck, we got the Zoroark water variants, so either Slowking or Dugong. Do you think these are still viable? I know Finn piloted it to a good finish in Santa Clara, but do you think they still maintain their viability going into Madison?
Yeah, definitely. I think for Santa Clara, I think Finn had the best deck in the room, and just got unlucky. I think I've tried Finn's list, and Finn's list is really, really good. Like, props to you, like, for making it like the way you did. I read your article; it's really, really good. I think that the majority of people that played Zoroark's like Slowking version, like Finn said again, like they just didn't build it correctly to like maximize their outs to the matchups for like Reshizard or Pikarom and stuff like that. Like the little things matter, and nobody. I want to say nobody, but like the people that day two obviously did, but the people that didn't day two and played it didn't think of all the small things that needed to be added to the matchup to make it favorable. Like the Grimer Koga's was so good. I've used it so many times, and nobody really thinks about it. But it's like huge in the matchup that you really need it in. So yeah, there's a lot of small things. I think it's definitely my number one choice going into Madison.
Well, thank you. That's it's like 5 compliments coming. But anyway, yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's the best deck in the format, honestly. I know that's kind of a bold statement, but like, my list wasn't perfect going to that event, but I think it was pretty good. I think it was like 2 or 3 cards off, but going forward, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be the best deck, unless Pikarom just like pops back up and ends up being really good again, because that's the only thing that you actually like lose to. But I don't see that happening with Zard just winning unless somebody figures out how to make Pikarom beat Zard. So I'm not seeing that happen. What does that answer the question? What you asked?
Yeah.
Real quick, Finn, do you think if you added the Marowak, it would be fine?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about Marowak, and if other people are playing Zoroark, I could definitely see putting in Marowak instead of a couple cards. I'm definitely trying out Marowak right now. I think that's a great option.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Noah?
All right. Zoroark Persian Slowking thing, I think it's good. But I think Zoroark Still Valley might be a little bit better in a lot of ways. Like they definitely have their differences, but I think that Zoro Still Valley being able to just like not have to load up that many Pokemon in the discard and just like get the memory for like a turn 2 or 3 one shot on things is like really strong. Because then with water memory Kukui, then Turbo Drive one shots Reshizard, fighting memory Kukui one shot EV Snore, which is like Zoroark's biggest issue is the EV Snorlax. So like I saw Keon got second at a Winnabox with it. My buddy lost his winning in Winnabox with it. There's an article with it on someone's PC, and then Gustavo played it to Sao Paulo, but Gustavo's list seemed weird. So yeah, Zoroark Valley would be my Zoro deck of choice going into Madison, but I definitely do see the advantages of Zoro Persian too.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely see both sides of it, but a lot of people are favoring Persian's consistency over Silvally especially because you need to find the memories at the right times. So yeah, moving on to what happened?
I'd still playing a 1/1 Persian line in Zoro Valley just because Vengeance is such a powerful attack to have an option for, and then the Catwalk. I love my teammates, so and I'd still play a 1/1 line of that, but I wouldn't make it a focus.
All right, moving on to the one of the other really big and popular decks is Stall right now. A lot of people are saying that you either play Stall or play Text for Stall, which I completely agree with. I think that is a really valid claim right now. As Finn had in his Zoroark list, he had the Make 'em Pay Persian, which is probably the best card if you have space to include for it. But there are other options like Oranguru. So how do you think this deck as a whole is positioned going into the event? Do you think it's going to be hard countered? Do you think it's going to make its way back in? Or And which variant do you think is better, the Kika variant with the Hoopa or the Vileplume?
Where do I want to start? I guess I'll start with the best variant. I think the best variant for me personally was going into Clara was the Plume. I think if I were to play now, I want to say the Hoopa variant, but Zoroark with Muck is just way too oppressive against that deck, I think. And it's like really hard to
You
play
just
around.
lost on the Muck with Lugia.
Okay. Then yeah, maybe that's best. I think I guess the no, because then like if they play a Ringaroo, then I'm not gonna knock out anything. I'll just resource manage and loop you. Like I just resource
You just
manage.
wouldn't even. I think you wouldn't even need to put Hoopas down. I think that you would just have to like put down the Lucario Melmetals and just like loosen chain Acerolas, and then like Zoroark can't really do anything about that depending on variant most of the time.
Yeah, I agree. I think Hoopa's strong in the matchup for sure, but I think that Lucario Melmetal can definitely take hits and be Acerola because it's just got so much HP and so much damage reduction in the Frying Pan and the GX attack. So that's again, people are playing Field Blowers now, but if you can't get rid of the Frying Pan, it's really, really hard to take out Lucario Melmetal in even 2 shots. So that is definitely something to keep in mind.
But yeah, best variant definitely. I think the Kika version is definitely the best. Do I think it's good? Not anymore. Even though I really like Stall, I think it's one of my favorite decks to ever play. I wouldn't play it for Madison. It's just not good. I think it's just gonna be like too hard countered for. It's like Night March. It's like it goes away for a year, pops back up at a good tournament. It's good when a new format or a new set comes out because nobody knows what the hell to play, and everybody's just like freaking out, and then you just hit them with the stall, and they're just like, well, I guess I lose. Cool. So yeah.
I think Stall is definitely a deck we should prepare for. I don't necessarily think it's amazing. You know, if you look at the results, there was only one that top 8'd, and I think Preston that was him, right? Preston got top 8 with it.
Yeah, I think so.
Top 4, I think.
He just like
8, yeah.
He always top 8s, man. That kid like always does well, no matter what he plays. So I feel like I'm not too confident that he would have whiffed if he played a different deck anyway. So I don't know how convincing that is. And I knew a lot of guys that played Stall. Like a lot of the people that were local to my area played Stall and made it to day 2, and they didn't make top 8. So that tells me that there's some like inherent flaws with it. You know, like I've heard stuff about just getting let loose and then your active gets knocked out or something like that. It just seems like kind of inconsistent. And then in terms of which variant, I'd probably say the one that doesn't play Plume, just because I've played against the one with Plume and I can beat it a good amount of the time just with the let loose, knock out your Oddish. So if you can avoid that, that's probably the better version. I think it's a decent play, but it might just be too prepared for right now.
Yeah, and we did just lose Noah, so I'll kind of fill in with my own opinion. I think that Stall is really, really strong, and I think that you should definitely play your decks for it. Like, play the Persian, play the Oranguru if you have the space in your deck, because it's just a matchup where if you're not prepared, it's going to hit you really hard, no matter what deck you're playing. And there is the contrary of, like, you can get let loose and you can dead draw, but when you don't dead draw, it's really hard to overcome.
So I think Kika's variant is 100% the best stall list. Like, I like every single card out of his 60 card list. I don't see a reason to deviate anywhere from there. I think the Plume builds were all just like preying on the unprepared for Santa Clara. Like, everyone's going to be prepared for Plume in Madison. It's like you're just going to die to people going let loose Stealth Hood. You're going to brick and get knocked out. So, like, Plume is just kind of a bad card now. It has a lot of very polarized matchups. I think Stall will always have that issue of just like hope you hit the right matchups and hope that if it is a bad matchup, your opponent doesn't know what they're doing. Which, like, is a genuine strategy. Like, it can work. But I also think that people are going to be very tech for Stall in general now, not just the Plume. So I personally wouldn't play it, but like, it's not a terrible play.
Yeah, I can certainly see that. The matchups definitely are polarizing. From what I saw when I played the deck in Denver, I saw that it either had auto losses or auto wins, and that seems like what it is right now as well. But I think a lot of people are willing to take that chance, so definitely prepare yourself for stall. Going into the next major deck, this is the last of like the big decks. We got Zapdos. So there are two main variants right now: the Ultra Beast variant and the Fighting variant. The Fighting one you can find on CutterTap.com. But other than that, which of these variants do you think is better and why? Go ahead.
Definitely the Ultra Beast variant, not the Marshadow Machamp one. Talked to Katron after Santa Clara. He said he was lucky to make top 4, and he played the worst deck in the room. He felt like the deck was terrible. I think good players will know how to play against Marshadow Machamp, retaliate. I mean, the card's good. Don't get me wrong. Like Oko's Peak Rom, Oko's Zoroark. If obviously you get to retaliate off. But I feel like if you get if you play against somebody who knows how to play around it, it's just not good. It's pretty bad. But yeah, definitely the Ultra Beast version. I love the Buzzmosa. Play the Buzzmosa. If you think about cutting it, don't. It's the best card in your deck.
Yeah.
I think the Viridian version is way better, personally. So, that's just me. But
I like both.
I
I mean, I like
think
both. I was gonna say I just like both. I haven't tested the both bunch to know, but keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I think Katron did well because he played a good list, and I know he didn't think the deck was good, but like he made top 4. Has he done that well in a while? I don't think he has. So I mean, that says something, I think. And
Last time he had like top 8 was Bulu, so like.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of an indication that he's probably playing a good deck. So I don't know. I think that kind of speaks for itself, but it's just way more consistent. Like the biggest problem that deck will have is dealing with Muck, and Zoroark's getting more popular. And the variant that deals with Muck is the Viridian version, and I make like at least an 1,500 word case for why that's true on CutterTap. A lot of which isn't behind a paywall, so you can check that out if you want to see. But in short, it's just like you get the guaranteed attachments, and you're thinning your deck more, and you don't put damage on yourself. And those 3 things are huge when you're playing against Zoroark decks with Muck. So I feel like that's your biggest problem, and the Viridian version helps to solve that problem. And I also really hate Machamp Marshadow. I think it's awful. Like I tested against it earlier. I just 2-0'd it. It's like you can't use Coco to put energy on Machamp if I have Muck out. So what are you doing with that thing? Like you bench it, and then I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna bring this up twice, 2-shot it, skip your Sledgehammer turn. You need your 1 Stealthy Hood if you want to do the Coco play. I just think it's quite bad. Well, yeah, like Stealthy Hood, I'm pretty sure Katron played it. But
Yeah,
you have to play Stealthy Hood in Zapdos now, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I think that's all I want to say.
So I haven't really got much experience with Zap. I have the deck built right now, so I'm just like looking at it for reference, and like it just feels so weird to me. Like, especially if you're playing the Viridian version without Nihilego and without like Spiritomb and Kartana, like it feels like that version just like has so many more like awkward matchups. I don't know. Like I just don't have enough experience with it to be confident in giving an opinion.
Yeah, sure thing. Moving on to the next deck, it's kind of on the fringe right now. We got either of the Blounds, Baby or Big. Which one do you think is better of these two? Do you think Baby's even viable right now? Because I am personally an advocate that Big Blounds is really good right now. Yeah, so take it away. Are either of these two archetypes viable?
I think Big Blounds is definitely very good in this format. It's definitely my number 2 going into Madison, I think, right now. Probably number 3, but I say number 2 because I don't want to use my brain for potentially 17 rounds. I think that the Baby just loses to Let Loose really late in the game. You just can't close out a game. Also, Field Blower, it's just if everything's gonna play Field Blower now, so your batons aren't gonna be as useful. Also, Zoroark just pummels you, in my opinion. I don't know. I really like Big Blondes though. It's been really consistent, and I just really like Big Blondes right now, and it has a favorable Rush Start matchup. That's all. That's why.
Yeah, and if I could just interject real quick, I think everybody should be playing a field blower for this event at least. You can go ahead.
So I think out of the two, Big Blondes is probably better. I don't think either of them are very good personally, but I haven't tested Big Blondes recently, so take that with a grain of salt. The way I'm looking at it though is if Zark is going to become more popular, which it sounds like it will be, a lot of people are talking about it right now, then you got to deal with these slow kings one-shotting you repeatedly because they just go choice. Doesn't matter how many energy you have attached, they just do 180, so that's one shot. So you can do 2 of those if you play 2-2. You can do 2 of those even if you don't play 2-2 because you can just go stretcher and use ditto. So that's going to be an issue. You got to like Guzma to get around that, I think, if you want to stay ahead in the prize trade. And then on top of that, Slashback GX with Choice Band one-shots, Vengeance will one-shot late game. It just seems like a lot of the reason why Blowns beat Zorak before was because they couldn't pull off those one-shots consistently, but now Zorak really can do that. And with one prizers a lot of the time instead of 2 prizers. Dugong can do the same thing. And anybody that's teching in water stuff in any deck for Reshizard is also going to hit your Blown GX. And I don't know, just giving up 2 prizes to something that's like commonly countered that seems pretty gross to me. I don't know. It doesn't seem amazing. I don't even think you really beat Zapdos. Like, I don't really see the attraction personally, but yeah, that's just me.
All right. I don't like either. I think Blown GX is probably better than Baby Blown, but like, it's like Blown GX is just a better deck. But they both just get slammed by most one prizers, and I can see like one prize archetypes like taking like a big resurgence in response to the fat tag teams.
Well, the Baby Blown actually does deal with Zapdos very well. Like that's one of the reasons people have been playing Baby Blowns because it deals with Zapdos.
Not my
But then
list.
well, it depends on the Zap variant because like if it's the Zap Viridian, I can see it, but if it's the Zap Rainbows, they have like a bunch of different one prizers that can like swing the race into their favor. Like they have the Spiritomb to take a one shot at some point. They have the Kartana, and then they also most of the time play Let Loose. And if they just like time a Let Loose knockout well, then Baby Blonde can just kind of like fall apart. So like it's not awful, but it is like sketchy. It's not enough for me to consider playing the deck over the Zap matchup.
Yeah. Moving on to the next kind of rising in popularity deck. The deck has been kind of coming up on Hey Fonte a lot, which is Wheezing. Another reason why you should be playing Field Blower is to kind of improve your Wheezing matchup. Do you think this deck is viable at all, or do you think it's overhyped right now?
I mean, it was good when I first tested it. I really liked it. Spell tags were good when it got through. But like, again, everybody's playing Field Blower or 2. Some crazy people on PTCGO ladder playing 3 or 4, but it's fine. Also, I think Zoark is not as bad of a matchup as people say, but like it definitely can win. Like Zoark is definitely like a good is like a bad matchup, but not like as bad as people say. I wouldn't play it. That's just me. I just think Zoark with like 2 Acerola, Max Potion, Field Blower, like that just auto beats it, in my opinion.
So I think Zorak is actually a fairly close matchup. I definitely agree with you on that. I was testing against it before the last event because like 2 of my teammates made top 32 with the deck, so I got to see it in action a lot, and I was pretty surprised by how many games they were actually able to win against me when I was playing Zora. So I feel like Weezing is pretty good. It has some consistency issues sometimes for sure. It doesn't have like a solid built-in draw engine the way like Zorak or Zapdos does, so that's going to be a little bit of a problem for it. But overall, it's got a lot of stuff it can play to cover different matchups because of the counter energy. If your opponent misplays, you usually body them. That's a really big advantage to the deck, is that like you totally can capitalize on your opponent misplaying with like what they bench and when they bench. So I feel like it's going to do very well in day 1, and then it might struggle a bit in day 2, because I feel like when players know what to do against it, it can definitely run into some problems. But you body Zapdos every time, so that's huge. It's got some pretty polarized matchups, I feel like, so that's like a good and a bad thing. But I think it's a pretty good deck, honestly.
I pretty much agree with everything Finn said. I think that like certain Reshi builds, like the ones that still play Miltank Shining Lugia, those ones clap it in my experience. And then it also has a really tough time with all the mill. There's like no real tech that Weezing can include for the mill matchup. So I wouldn't touch it, but
yeah, lots of people would not touch any kind of spread deck with a 10-foot pole. So
I've always just not been a fan of spread. It feels too easy for my opponents to play around.
All right, moving on to the next archetype is Malamar. You mentioned it earlier that you're testing it, Noah.
Yeah.
Do you think? So do you guys think that Malamar is viable in this tag team meta? Because last meta we did see it was kind of the 5th best deck in the format with the Pikarom running around. Do you think it's good enough to take down Reshizard?
I haven't tested it, so I don't really know. But
All right, yeah,
I was gonna say I haven't tested it. I don't know. Sure.
I also haven't tested it. I've played a lot of Malamar, and I saw the list that Rukan posted. I felt like that was a pretty good list. So, I mean, I guess I have tested it. I haven't tested the exact list that's like popular right now, but yeah, just doing 130 every turn with a 1 prizer, you know, especially if you can like include stuff like Rope. Rope is really good against the green search variant of Reshizard. So just theoretically, it seems totally fine. I feel like you probably do beat Reshizard, especially if you include Dugong, which makes a lot of sense. I think Malamar's a pretty decent play, but it's still going to lose to Zapdos. Malamar has never been able to beat Zapdos consistently. And now that spell tags are definitely not in the list, that's even worse. So,
well, Rukan actually is playing the Dugong in his Malamar list, which helps tackle the
that's
Zapdos.
true. That's definitely true. I mean, it helps, but I still think you're not getting there. Because like the Dugong is sort of the same idea as like using Sky Scorching Light later, right? But with a 1 prize option instead, and you still weren't beating Zapdos with the Sky Scorching Light or the Ultra Necrozma version of Malamar. As long as the Zapdos player like knows what they're doing. If they're bad, you definitely can, but I still think you're going to take like a 60-40 in their favor against it, even with Dugong.
Right. So basically, I just took Rukan's list and I cut the Dugong line and 1 Psychic Energy for the Ultra Neck and 2 Metals, because I found that like Dugong doesn't really help in any matchups that you're losing. And, like it only really does anything in the matchups you already win. And I feel like Ultra Neck is just a better counter to Zapdos. Like even if it's not perfect, at least it doesn't just get like completely cuffed by Mew. So I find that playing Malamar is a bit of matchup roulette. So like hit Reshizards, and especially now that you have Mew, Pikarom, those are like very easy matchups. And then there's like other things like Nagquag that like Nagquag and Weezing are a bit sketchy. Like it's just a big matchup roulette. But I like the deck going in. It's a good meta call for like a Reshizard filled room.
Yeah, I actually think it's fairly consistent as well. I like the consistency of Malamar.
I totally forgot about Mew, by the way. That's like a big game changer in my opinion. I feel like if you just put down Mew in a Zapdos deck against Malamar, it's like, what are you gonna do, bud? Like you cannot do anything. I feel like.
Yeah.
Dawn's worthless.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on to the second last deck in this huge meta, which is Pikarom, which was the biggest deck last format. This format, it's kind of taken a back step because of Reshizard. Do you think it's going to be strong for this event? Because it does have a lot of good matchups elsewhere, but the Mew definitely does prevent the 170 to the bench, which is a big issue for the deck. Do you think you can overcome this issue going into the event or no?
Assault Boom for knockout. with Choice Band and Kukui. No, I don't. I think the deck sucks personally. I've tested it. Can't touch Reshizard. It can't touch Zoroark that plays Marowak. In my opinion, I just don't like Pikarom now. Like it used to be so. Like the Pika box was the best deck in my opinion. I just thought it was so good. But now now it's just like I feel like I'm disappointed with every time I play Pikarom because it's not like the Pika box anymore where it's just like, oh, okay, cool, I'll just do so many things at once and then pressure my opponent so much and then I just go, okay, Pikarom tag bolt because of Mew. I don't know. I think it's got too many answers to it. It's not as good as it used to be, and I just don't like playing it anymore.
I think it sucks.
Yeah.
I agree with everything he said, and I think it's even worse. Like I think it's the worst deck that's popularly played by far. I'd rather play like Baby Blounds or something. I think Pikarom is not good.
It's so bad.
Yeah, I don't. He explained most of it, but
I mean, I feel like its Reshizard matchup, while not favored, is better than people give it credit for. However, it's got a bunch of other like terrible matchups that it's probably not worth playing.
No chance.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with everything said. I don't think I'd touch the deck with a 10-foot pole. All right, so the last deck that we're going to be talking about is the DDG deck, Sidinja Control. Obviously, everybody is playing Field Blower primarily for this matchup and for Weezing, but do you think even with everybody tagging for it, it's still going to be strong? Do you think people are still going to be unprepared for it, even with the big showing it had? Go ahead.
No. People are playing Field Blower, Tree Guzma, and Palpad. So there's your 6 prizes right there. I'm surprised that people didn't look at the standings before Santa Clara at EUIC, I think it was, where Pedro actually did well with the deck first. It was Pedro and them that did well with it first. I'm very surprised that they did as well as they did with the deck, because like I'm surprised that people didn't prepare for it. Is what I'm trying to say. Even though it did like semi well, it was still a really really good deck. I don't think it's good now. You have a game plan for 6 prizes built into your deck that you're not even teching for that specific deck. So
yeah, I agree for the most part. It was like a deck that could surprise people going into Santa Clara, but now that people know about it, it's definitely being prepared for, just like side countered by preparing for other decks. Yeah, I mean, past Weezing and Shed Ninja, there's also Baby Blounds. You want the blower for that, like getting rid of memories if you play against Zoro. Silvali's good too. Blower's just like too good of a tech right now to play a Shed Ninja deck, in my opinion. But it still could get through day one and, do all right, just because a lot of people still don't fully understand what to do against it, I think. And I'm pretty sure that's the only reason why DDG got, like, kind of far with it. Like, if Shed Ninja players play against good players, I think they just get bodied.
Going into Santa Clara, I was testing Shedinja an embarrassing amount for that. And I think that like it was a good call for that tournament and that tournament alone. I don't think it's going to be good anymore. For the record, though, I think DDG's list sucked. I think Memory Melt was the best part of the deck, the 1/1 Slowking line that Pedro had.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree that Field Blower is just too solid of a card right now to even think about not including. So yeah, now that we've covered all the decks in the meta, we're going to get into the last couple questions here. What are your top 3 picks for the event is the first one?
Definitely the Zoro box that Caleb and DDG has been playing at Cups. I've heard of the stage 1s that they've been playing, and I think the deck is really, really good. I saw it on stream earlier. Caleb was playing it on a local League Cup, and I watched him throughout Cut play it. It was really, really good. I really liked it. It has a good answer to the Nidoqueen Meganium deck that's popping up, which I think you really need to you need to know how to play against it going into this weekend. So that's one thing we didn't cover earlier, so I'll just cover it now, I guess, smallly. Nidoqueen Meganium, I think the only reason that it's doing as well as it is now is because Pokegear got printed, and Let Loose isn't as big of a factor as it was now than it was before because we didn't have Pokegear, obviously. So you have less consistency issues. But going back to my top three, I think the Zoro box is number one. Numbers 2 and 3, I haven't really tested that much, really, because I have finals this week, and I fly back home on Friday. So I think 2 just brain dead decks that I would really just turn my brain off. So maybe like Blounds and Malamar or something like that, just to like get through the day and not like really like have to think. But definitely Zoroark. Zoroark is my number one choice, and I think I would stick to Zoroark for sure.
My number one is by far Zoroark. So it's like top pick, second, third, like by far Zoroark. Yeah. And then number 2 is probably Nidoqueen, Meganium, Swampert. And then number 3 is Gramble.
Oh yeah, Gramble. We have to talk about that.
Yeah, don't worry. I have a question for these.
Okay.
My top 3, they're not really in any particular order. They're just based on what meta I feel is shaping up as we get closer to the event. So, first would be Zoro something, probably Zoroark Valley, but like maybe the Zoro box. Second would be Reshizard, and third would be Malamar. So yeah, like Malamar is if I'm expecting like a flood of Reshizard coming in. Zoro something would be if I'm expecting more like weird decks like Weezing to show up. And then Reshizard is just like would just be my fallback if I really don't know what I'm expecting going in.
Yeah, for sure. All right, the next question is the best deck that you would not play for this event.
Ooh, that's really tough because there's a lot of decks that I like really like going into this event actually. Even though I haven't tested all of them because again I just don't have the time really. I think in theory I have like 6 or 7 decks I really like. I think the best deck I would not play probably Gramble, just because I don't want to work that hard for 9 rounds, potentially 15, however many rounds in day 2. If I do well, top 8, whatever. Just because like the rise of Zoroark, is just really good, and then also like I don't know how great your Zapdos matchup is. Like I haven't tested the deck to know, but I feel like if Zapdos can just keep targeting down your Cargos, you just fall apart at that point. So yeah,
you beat Zapdos.
Like, definitely people not play Cargo anymore because I just play the 4 reds and the Gurus.
See, I don't even know. You know better than I do, dude. I don't know.
So there's 2 versions. You can play like triple Oranguru and quad reds, or you can play like, more normal and play only like 2 reds and have them a cargo line.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and then it's my. Oh, personally, I'm not sure actually. Like, I think I prefer my cargo because like, you just get it down and then it's not about what you top deck because you just smooth over, and I think that's really nice as opposed to reds where it's like. Gotta draw another reds. You know what I mean? Who knows if I'll actually get it or not? It just takes some of the variance out of it, I feel like, if you have Macargo, so I think I prefer that. But the best deck I wouldn't play is definitely Reshizard. I think it's a super strong deck. My team, for the most part, made that list, so I was super happy to see it get first. Shout out to Cameron Shinoy. He's like, he put the most work in with that. He's the guy that made that deck. Just so everybody knows, he deserves the credit for that. So yeah, I think that deck's amazing. It just doesn't draw as well as I need it to. Like if I'm gonna play a deck at regionals, I want it to set up very, very consistently, and that deck does not do that enough of the time for me. So I wouldn't be happy with it.
For me, it would either be Zapbeast or Kikamil. Because like both are like really good, just neither are really my playstyle.
All right, and this next question is an idea of something I got from Luke Morsa, Celio Network meta discussion that I was on. He asked the question: if you had 1 slot left in your deck, and it could be any tech card, what tech card would you play?
Finn, can you go first? I gotta think.
No field blower doesn't count. You can't use field blower because that's a
Well,
given.
yeah, no, yeah, I'm already playing that.
If I had a 61st card, I mean, it definitely depends on the deck. Which deck?
Any like just tech card for a certain matchup. A tech card if you're putting it in.
Oh, this is hard.
So in Zoroark, I want to say Marowak, but I think I'm probably just gonna fit Marowak in anyway. So probably Resource Management Oranguru, I think. Because then if you fit Marowak and Resource Management, you just don't have any bad matchups at all.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Since I skipped over Finn. Since I skipped to Finn. I was gonna say, yeah, probably Resource Management and or Make 'em Pay. I can't decide which one is better yet.
I definitely think Make 'em Pay is better.
Well, I already play Make 'em Pay.
Yeah, he already plays Make 'em Pay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
he's saying
Yeah.
if he has both.
Okay. I guess. In that case, then yes, Resource Management or Angry 100%. If you're not playing Make 'em Pay, I can't decide which one is overly better. I would say Make 'em Pay, but if they're cutting down the plume stall count crap, whatever, then I think Resource Management is probably better.
Make 'em Pay still does a number on the other one, like a big number.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. I just can't decide which one is better overall.
I think you want Make 'em Pay over Oranguru because it's good against other decks. Like, for example, if you play against Blound GX and you've got damage on their active, you can go like Choice Band or Koga or something like that and then Make 'em Pay. And then you go down to 4 prizes and get rid of their B strings at the same time.
Yeah, sure.
And you can do something like against Reshizard, for example, they go like Flint, build a big hand, and then you're like, okay, Make 'em Pay, get rid of your Welder, your Greens, and your Guzma. Like, what are you going to do now? All you got is 4 Fire Engine in your hand. So it's got a lot of use in other matchups too, which is why I think it's better.
Okay, I like that more then. Then yes, Make 'em Pay is 100% better.
Basic water energy, so I can go Judge Memory Melt.
Bust.
I think if I had to put any tech in, it would be well, obviously after what you guys already said, because I think Make 'em Pay is probably the best. But I'd go Bench Barrier Mew. I think it's very strong.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
We're Zoroark players. We don't need that.
all right. So the last question on the list is the best rogue deck. So that was the question I was hinting at earlier. You mentioned Nidoqueen and you mentioned Gramble, so feel free to talk about those in this time. But yeah, what's the best rogue deck?
Yeah, Nidoqueen. I think nobody knows how to play against it because it wasn't as good because Let Loose, they were just like, okay, Let Loose, all right, I lose. Now with Pokegear, it actually stands a chance in this format. Did well at the SPE. I think it got 3rd. I don't remember if it got top 4 or yeah, it was 3rd. So I mean, you got to be careful with your manage. You got to be careful with your resources. I don't like the Oranguru that Benji fan played. I think his list, even though he did well, he got top 8 at a cup. So I mean, credit to top 8 of a cup, but I think that list was horrible in my opinion. I don't like the Oranguru. I think if you're gonna manage your resources more, I like DCE counter gain more. But yeah, I think definitely Nidoqueen, Meganium is definitely a deck you have to like know how to play against going into this tournament.
I can't decide if Nidoqueen is better or if Gramble is better. What was the actual question though?
What's the best rogue deck?
Oh, what's the best out of the two? Okay.
No, just
Yeah,
rogue deck in general. What's the best?
I don't know. Those like out of the rogues, I think that's. I mean,
most rogue.
Yeah, those.
Well, there's one more. This is the Carl Barone special Vikavolt.
Oh yeah, I know about that. That's kind of cute. I mean, I'm not about it, but like it's a cool deck. I've never tested it. It might be good. But yeah, out of the rogues, I definitely think Nidoqueen and Gramble are the top 2. And I've tested a lot of rogues over the last 2 weeks. Let me tell you, like an insane amount. So yeah, that's my opinion.
I think if you're confident that you can dodge all the smart Charizard players and just hit the ones that don't know what they're doing, Zoro Control is really cool. Because that deck, like, exploits the hell out of Judge Memory Melt, especially combined with Muck. Then, like, Ultra Ball and Lele doesn't become an out of Judge. Then you just, like, there's no way they're going to draw, like, 2 raw supporters. You just go Judge, Muck, Memory Melt. And then in some matchups, like, like against Reshizard, if they just get a turn 1 Welder, like, it may not do much. But then, like the deck's intention for me at Santa Clara was just to, like, dodge those smart Reshizards and just beat everything else to just lock in secure point. So if you're confident, you can just, like, have a hot matchup run. Zoro control is very strong, in my opinion.
And would you be playing the Haunch Crow to beat all others?
No way. That card was so bad.
All right, we got that one settled. All right, so I think that's going to do it for this one. If you guys want to give any shout-outs or anything, feel free to do so now.
Shout out to my sponsor, Nerd Rage Gaming out of Chicago, Illinois. You guys are the best. Help me with my regionals and stuff like that, so it's great. Shout out to Arlen Neal, Jake Ewert, Eli Greenfeld, Ben Cryer, people I test with, Broken Rune from Madison, and then shout out to everybody who's going to be in that huge B&B for Origins. I still have spaces, so if you guys need space, hit me up. We are so far at like 16 people, I think, and we can host 24. So if you need a space, let me know.
I'm down. Shout out to PPG and Ultra Pro, my sponsors. Eclipses are the best sleeves. No cap. Shout out to my website, cuttertap.com. Check it out. We got a sale going on right now. Half off for your first month. There's also a sale on coaching, so you can coach with me for half my normal rate. So make sure you take advantage of that before the end of this month, because the last day you can get that sale price for the coaching or the membership is going to be the 31st of this month. So make sure you send us an email or subscribe or whatever soon. And shout out to Team CutterTap, my team members. That's going to be it.
Shout out to my non-existent sponsor. I'm a free agent. Hit me up.
Oh, real quick. The best rogue deck going back is definitely the CutterTap Article God of War GX Swampert deck. That deck is actually insane. I have been testing it. I really like it. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely sub to CutterTap. That website's so
go sub 100%.
All right, see you guys in the next one.